Peace, everyone, and welcome to Crumb TV. I am your hostess today, Joy Allen, and today I am streaming on Facebook under Crumb TV Snatcher. I'm streaming at Crumb TV Group on Facebook. I am streaming on my Facebook page, Joy Allen, on Facebook, and also my YouTube channel, The Memoirs of a Karmic Dynasty. And I am also streaming on YouTube, Crumb TV's platform, Branch of Knowledge. And today I am bringing to you some information about this food pyramid that we've been introduced to and the damaged parts of it. And let's see here. Now, to start, you can follow me at Twitter and or Instagram at MKDTNT. You can also contact me on Facebook at Joy Allen. And also check out my YouTube page, The Memoirs of a Karmic Dynasty. And a lot of people I do not think know about Crumb's, our brother Crumb's Branch of Knowledge YouTube channel. So check him out over there on Branch of Knowledge as well on YouTube. And speaking of our humble brother Crumb, I would again like to extend appreciation and gratitude for the space that I've been given to come to you and share my thoughts and views on some topics. So you can subscribe to his YouTube page at Crumb TV. You can also follow Crumb on Instagram at CrumbTV_. And of course, you can follow him on Racebook, as he calls it, aka Facebook, at Crumb TV. And of course, as always, you can support the Crumb TV platform and contact him through his Cash App at #Crumb TV. And we would also like for you to comment on the video. I would like it because it adds to the build. And we appreciate when you share the video so others can be in touch and in tune with what us master students know. And of course, liking the video. And definitely, I know some of you, a lot of you, if not all of you, are in some groups. Share the videos that come on Crumb TV in those groups. And now I'm going to share with you some of the master students here in the room. We have Sirwa Poole, my sister from YouTube, and she was here earlier, and I'm sure she's here now. We have a peace to her. So we have a Facebook user from, of course, Facebook that says, "Peace, family, peace." We have Cherie Reed, El Messiah Code from YouTube. It says, "Peace, family." I see the Ashe in there. I observed that. Let's get this wisdom, this wise information to the dome. Let's get that. Yes, peace, Sir Y. Appreciate you being here, as well as everyone else. Shay Yu from YouTube says, "Blessings, sister." Blessings to you as well. And More Life, she says, "Peace, peace to you." And we have also from YouTube, Kai Creatus from her YouTube page. She says, "Hi, beautiful Joy." I say hi to you, beautiful Kai Creatus. And to Kai, I appreciate you sharing your art with me. If anyone is not familiar with Kai Creatus's work, check out my Facebook page, Joy Allen, because I share her work there. It's masterpiece, masterful. Let's see. And we have Kathleen Williams from Facebook says, "Peace, goddesses." And on behalf of all the goddesses, I say peace. So we're going to get started with this PowerPoint here. Now, what I want to share, of course, is how I got to this topic. So one day, and this is just sharing how my mind works sometimes. One day I was in a conversation with someone. We were talking about food, which is a big deal for me because I'm real cautious with what I eat, as well as all things in life. And the food pyramid came up. And with other things I was doing, just something clicked, a bell rang. I was like, pyramid? They put all that disgusting stuff in a pyramid? fats, oils, sugars. Y'all know the stuff I'm talking about. Meat, not any, they didn't even classify what type meat, just meat. So all meat is in the pyramid. And I was disgusted. I was like, they couldn't have found anything else to put all that garbage in. And I know y'all know what I'm saying. So it just bothered me. So I started doing some research. And of course, we know there are different shapes that have been used, such as the circle, which is the plate, and some other things. But in my mind, when I think of food in any type structure and a guide that this system has given, I always think of the food pyramid. I don't think of the my plate or any of that other stuff. So while I was looking into the origins of the food pyramid and why they decided to use a pyramid, I came across some other things and I thought it'd be important to share. So we're going to go into this PowerPoint and yes, Shayu, even the human meat, that part, crazy. So I'm going to share this PowerPoint with y'all right now. Hold on here a few moments. All right. So of course I started at Wikipedia with this one. And according to Wikipedia, a food pyramid is a representation of the optimal number of servings to be eaten each day from each of the basic food groups. The first pyramid was published in Sweden in 1974. The 1992 pyramid, introduced by the United States Department of Agriculture, was called the Food Pyramid Guide or Eating Right Pyramid. It was updated in 2005 to My Pyramid, and then it was replaced by My Plate in 2011. So right here, this slide, this information, let's look at that again. The first pyramid was published in Sweden. Sweden is a long way away from here. So my question was, how did what happened in Sweden get here? And then who did that, et cetera, et cetera. Why Sweden? And some other type things. Just some questions. We about to discuss them. Let's move forward. What's Sirwa says they got professional nutritionists believing it's good to follow it. Exactly, and it's not. And we about to talk about it all right here. And of course, if anybody has some feedback as we go, please share. I appreciate it. Now, this is my question to what happened in Sweden and how it got here. This also is in Wikipedia under the food pyramid search. Amid high food prices in 1972, Sweden's National Board of Health and Welfare developed the idea of basic foods that were both cheap and nutritious, and supplemental foods that added nutrition missing from the basic foods. Anna Britt Angsater, chief of the test kitchen for Cooperativa Förbundet, a cooperative Swedish retail chain, held a lecture the next year on how to illustrate these food groups. There's an attendee, her name was Clems. She suggested a triangle displaying basic foods at the base. Angsater developed the idea into the first food pyramid, which was introduced to the public in 1974 in KF's VI magazine. Now I'm going to stop right there because all this started with a lady in Sweden, and they were affiliated with a religious group. So that's a study opportunity for you. And so she had a lecture, and one of her audience members had a suggestion. So the idea and everything that we know of a food pyramid came from the thoughts of a lady in Sweden. Okay. Let's see here. Moving on. Because it's ridiculous to me. Seriously, which is another instant right here, this is evidence that we need to do what we know is right, not to follow these people. And I'm not going to rant. I'm going to continue to read. The pyramid was divided into basic foods at the base, including milk, cheese, margarine, bread, cereals, and potato. A large section of supplemental vegetables and fruit, and an apex of supplemental meats, fish, and egg. The pyramid competed with the National Board's Dietary Circle, which KF, which is the Cooperative Forbundet, the Swedish retail chain, saw as problematic for resembling a cake divided into 7 slices and for not indicating how much of each food should be eating. While the board distanced itself from the pyramid, KF continued to promote it. Food pyramids were developed in other Scandinavian countries, as well as West Germany, Japan, and Sri Lanka. The United States later developed its first food pyramid in 1992. And of course, the United States is behind in the times. Yes, margarine. Just and let's look at this again, because how much of this crap that they stored in the sacred pyramid, it's all crap. But what in here do we eat on a regular? Let's see, milk. I don't take part in these milk products. Hold on, I'm not even sharing the screen. Hold on here. Milk, and then we have cheese. Yeah, cheese, margarine, bread, cereals, potatoes, none of that. So this is what we grew up on, some of us, because this was the model that was given to our parents all the way from Sweden as to what was the right thing to eat. Fish, supplemental fish, and we're going to address that word supplemental as well a little later. So the only thing I see in here worth my time today is vegetables and fruit and fish. The rest of this stuff is questionable. It's to each his own, and do what you may with it. Um, yeah, there. Oh, the margarine was used to fatten chickens. Yes, and of course, those fattened chickens with their margarine was in the food group, the pyramid. And yes, we not even Swedish. So if we go back with this comment that Cherie Reed, El Messiah Code has shared with us. So let's recap a little bit. Um, in Sweden, they based this all came from, let's go back to the first sentence, high food prices. This pyramid, these basic foods were based on cheap items and nutritious items. They're being cheap and came up with this pyramid. We're gonna move on. We're gonna look at this what they call pie shape, what they say, cake divided into 7 slices that they had. And this image is in the Wikipedia article as well. So number 1 here at the top in the center, we have the leafy green and yellow vegetables, and there's 1 or more servings. And they labeled this image the basic 7. Eat this way every day. Down here in the corner, you'll see it says, don't waste food. And at the bottom, it says, in addition to the basic 7, eat any other foods you want. In addition to the basic 7, eat any other foods you want. This is the model that was presented to people. Eat the 7, and after that, you can eat anything else you want. They're being cheap, as Portia Denise says on Facebook, and that's why we have a high carb diet in the inner city, because they was being cheap. Somewhere, though, somebody had a model, because everybody does not follow this food pyramid. Somewhere, when we were coming up, when our parents were children as well, there was a food model to follow. Somewhere we lost it, and we end up under this pyramid that they disrespected by putting cheap items in it, by putting oils, margarines, fattening the chickens. And Cherie Reed is telling y'all. So yeah, I was a little bit disturbed. Because again, in my mind, when it comes, so we are a people of symbols and signs. And naturally, I would say, when we see a pyramid, we gravitate towards it. And so all of this was designed, from my thinking, as another tool to tear down and destroy who we are. They knew we would gravitate to it. And of course, in the industry, we spend the most money. So anything we gravitate to and spend money on, everybody else is going to follow that example. Now, the United States took a little while to get that, but I think they needed time to finish testing out the market and where we were spending our money. And they wanted to know how to introduce it to us. And yes, what we needed grew here with us, as Sister Sirwapul is saying. And yep, they changed it to my plate. We're going to get into that and talk about that as well. Pollution of the temple, pyramid, exactly. So this presentation I've been working on, it's been complete. I was working on some people. I was in the process of working on it with some other people. And I'm at a point where our humble brother Crumb says it's time I do things solo. So I brought it to you all by myself. So I appreciate you all being here because I'm not by myself. Technically, I appreciate y'all. And the basic 7 and why, I'll look at that another day. Shay you. And thanks for that feedback. I'll look at that. Okay, so back to number 1. We have the leafy green and yellow vegetables here. And number 2, we have citrus fruit, tomatoes, and raw cabbage, 1 or more servings. Number 3, we have potatoes and other vegetables and fruits, 2 or more servings. In 4th place, we have milk, cheese, ice cream. Now here they have specifically for children and adults. So for children, they suggest 3 to 4 cups of milk. And for adults, 2 or more cups. And number 5, we have meat, poultry, fish, eggs, dried peas and beans, 1 to 2 servings. And at number 6, we have bread, flour, cereals, whole grain or enriched, every day. Now, right here, it don't say how many servings. It says every day, as if the rest of the wheel is just for Monday through Friday or something. I don't know. This whole thing is distorted. Is not even any type structure to this other than it's in this circle, which they could have kept there and not moved it to the pyramid. And last but not least, at number 7, we have butter and fortified margarine. It says some daily. Not too specific there neither. So we're going to go ahead on here. And with that being said, then I had a question of, so they mentioned that this food model was carried to different countries. So Sri Lanka was on there at the bottom. I've pulled up the food pyramid for Sri Lanka because I know that the foods that were eaten in Sweden, as somebody mentioned, we are not Swedish. There's other places that are not Swedish. So everybody's not eating the food, and let's look at it. So here is the food pyramid that Sri Lanka has. And at the top here, you'll see it says Swedish Cooperative Center. So their pyramid model came from Sweden, and the Cooperativa kitchen is up here as well. And so, yeah, they have, I don't see any meat in their pyramid. They have fruits and vegetables here in the middle, the produce. They have the grains here at the base, at the bottom. And they have some eggs and cheese here at the top. And that's the model. And that might down here, when it's turned upside down, that might be a drumstick right here next to this glass. I had to look at that closer. But all that meat and junk that they dropped down from this one right here, is not in the one for Sri Lanka. So even Sri Lanka did not accept all the crap that was put in this basic 7 wheel. And moving on to Australia, because Australia adapted the food pyramid suggestion as well. The food wheel, the basic 7 as well. So from the Australian government Department of Health, it lists in an article what are the basic food groups. And it reads as follows. Foods from the basic food groups provide the nutrients essential for life and growth. These foods are also known as everyday foods. Each of the food groups provides a range of nutrients and all have a role in helping the body function. In particular, vegetables and fruit protect against illness and are essential to a healthy diet. And the basic food groups are bread, cereals, rice, pasta, vegetables, fruit, milk, yogurt, cheese, lean meat, fish, poultry, eggs. Let's see. And a balanced diet includes a variety of foods from each of the 5 food groups and offers a range of different tastes and textures. It is important to choose most of the foods we eat each day from these food groups. All right, so moving on, discussing this word supplement, as I mentioned earlier. So here I shared the etymon and the definition of this word. So the etymon of supplement is from the late 14th century, from Latin supplementum, that which fills up, that with which anything is made full or whole, something added to supply a deficiency, from supplere, to fill up. And this etymon reference I took from the etymon online. And now to the definition: something that completes or enhances something else when added to it. So we must be mindful of that word supplement. I will stay away from it because we do not know what they are filling up to supply the deficiency. We are not aware of what they are adding when attempting to feed a great population, such as in this country. And again, they are doing things such as the sister mentioned earlier, adding margarine to the chickens and some other type things. So be mindful of what you are putting into your body and be aware that it may look like one thing and it's very possible they have supplemented and added to it. Oh, goodness. Let's move on here. All right. So next, I wanted to look at this cooperative retail in Sweden that funded this food pyramid in Sweden. And this is also from Wikipedia. This cooperative is a federation of consumer cooperatives in Sweden and a retail group with groceries as its core business. KF was founded in 1899 by 41 local consumer cooperatives in order to support them with information and education of store managers and board members. Soon, KF also became responsible for common procurement of goods. Now, these people, they are definitely in it for the business. They saw this as an opportunity, this food pyramid idea as an opportunity to get more people in their stores. And they took those measures to make that happen. Tragedy. Let's move on here. Next, I looked at the My Plate, which was mentioned earlier. And this also is from Wikipedia. Now here, I went further into the different models, and there are some other parts I'm going to talk about later concerning commercialism. So we on a scale bigger than the cooperative here in Sweden when it comes to them seeing an opportunity to work the system and destroy us in the process by feeding us a bunch of garbage. We're going to look at some of the different models here. And again, I did this to show how things will change. And by the time generations from now, all this stuff will be history and they will have a whole nother model in place. Now, the My Plate is a current nutrition guide published by the USDA Center for Nutrition Policy and Promotion, a food circle. So we back to the circle. They've at least taken it from the pyramid. At this point, the damage is done. I'm going to continue reading. A place setting with a plate and a glass divided into 5 food groups. So originally we started with 7 portions of the circle back here. Now the system has reduced it to 5. Just observation. It replaced the USDA's My Pyramid Guide on June 2nd, 2011, ending 19 years of USDA food pyramid diagrams. 19 years. My Plate is displayed on food packaging and used in nutrition education in the United States. My Plate is based on the recommendations of the Dietary Guidelines for Americans. Some background on My Plate. My Plate is the latest nutrition. Did I read it? Okay, guide. Let's start over. My Plate is the latest nutrition guide from the USDA. The USDA's first dietary guidelines were published in 1894 by Dr. Wilbur Allen Atwater as a farmer's bulletin. So now we bringing in the commercialized players, and the farmers are one of them here. Since then, the USDA has provided a variety of nutrition guides for the public, including the Basic 7, the Basic 4, the Food Guide Pyramid, and My Pyramid. So this structure has changed at least 4 times, and I'm going to bring you some other ones here later. Again, as an example of not to attach to what the system throws out to you, to guide yourself and be aware for yourself what is best for you. Continuing on to read. Many other governments and organizations, right here, have created nutrition guides. Some, like the United Kingdom's Eat Well Plate, the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating, and we already looked at the Australian article, so we know they're in this, and the American Diabetes Association's Create Your Plate system also use plate diagrams. In December 2018, the USDA released plans to modify the My Plate limits on milk, sodium, school breakfast, and school lunch options. And so, let's move on here. Guidelines. The My Plate is divided into 4 sections of approximately 30% grains, 40% vegetables, 10% fruits, and 20% protein, accompanied by a smaller circle representing dairy, such as a glass of milk or a yogurt cup. My Plate is supplemented with an additional recommendation, such as make half your plate fruits and vegetables, switch to 1% or skim milk, make at least half your grains whole, and vary your protein food choices. The guidelines also recommend portion control while still enjoying food, as well as reductions in sodium and sugar intakes. In unveiling My Plate, First Lady Michelle Obama said, parents don't have the time to measure out exactly 3 ounces of chicken or to look up how much rice or broccoli is in a serving. But we do have time to take a look at our kids' plates. And as long as they're eating proper portions, as long as half of their meal is fruits and vegetables, alongside their lean proteins, whole grains, and low-fat dairy, then we're good. It's as simple as that. And I'm going to stop right there. because it's not as simple as that. Also, with this food pyramid, and then I'm going to use the lunch time at the schools as an example. To say that there's lunch is to suggest that there is breakfast and dinner. That's at least 3 meals in a day with these portions that they suggest, that they hint, that they put on display, which we know is them telling us how many times to eat a day. And 3 times a day to eat that much food is not necessary. And we know that. And for those that need the study opportunity, we don't need to eat 3 times a day. That's stuff that they're sharing with us. Moving on here. Let's see, guidelines. Now, we're going to discuss the national strategic partners. The USDA has created partnerships with a number of organizations to help promote the messages of My Plate and spread the reach as far and wide as possible. These partners consist of companies, organizations, national in scope, and reach that have agreed to promote nutrition content in the context of the entirety of the dietary guidelines for Americans. Let's look at this right here. Dietary guidelines for Americans. So if you're not American, these guidelines, diets, DIE with the T on the end, is not for you. Observation, study opportunity. All right, moving on. Reception, and this reception is of the My Plate. And we already said before, we know My Plate replaced the USDA's 2005 My Pyramid icon, criticized as too abstract and confusing. Right there. Abstract, confusing is the whole system altogether. It's not just this, what is this My Plate? The My Pyramid icon. It was too abstract and confusing. What it was disrespectful to put this garbage in a pyramid shape. Period. That's how I got here. I thought it was disrespectful. They could have put that again in any other object. So I'm glad they moved it along. And D Calico, brother from Facebook, peace to you. He says, I feel like I'll be fasting. After this event, I want to fast. I want to do something else. And yes, it's very disrespectful. Moving on here. Let's go. Reception. My Plate was widely received as an improvement on the previous My Pyramid icon, which had been criticized as too abstract and confusing. The 50% emphasis on fruits and vegetables, as well as the simplicity and understandability of the plate image, were particularly praised. Some critics said the protein section is unnecessary, given that protein is available from other food groups and Americans on average already eat enough. With that being said, let me mention this right quick. In the description of this video, I linked some videos that our humble brother Crumb made. And what I'm discussing today is just a subtopic of what he has already addressed. This proteins, these words they're using, he has addressed those. So if you would watch those videos and comment and like and share our brother Crumb's videos, gratitude. Share the knowledge, spread the knowledge. Let's get back to this article. Where we at? Already eat enough. Okay, right here. However, meat would not fit in any of the other food groups. The dairy section was criticized by some as similarly dispensable. An additional critique was that the icon is too simple, missing opportunities for additional dietary advice, such as distinctions between healthy and unhealthy proteins or guidance on good fats and bad fats. The Harvard School of Public Health released their own adjusted and more detailed version of My Plate. So here is where I'm giving you an example of someone else making a food guide. And there are some people following this Harvard food guide. It is called the Harvard Healthy Eating Plate in response. Harvard's plate features a higher ratio of vegetables to fruits, adds healthy oils to the recommendation, and balances healthy protein and whole grains as equal quarters of the plate, along with recommending water and suggesting sparing dairy consumption. The Harvard School of Public Health chair of the Department of Nutrition, Walter Willett, criticized My Plate, saying, unfortunately, like the earlier USDA pyramids, My Plate mixes science with the influence of powerful agricultural interests, which is not the recipe for healthy eating. The Harvard Plate also contains a recommendation for physical activity. Now, that is the first food guide I've seen presented by this system that supports physical activity. Just an observation. Study opportunity for others. We should be active. Our children should be active. They should not be eating just anything at any time of the day and becoming more and more unhealthy just to struggle later to get it right and or just to pass it down to their children, and it continues to be a generational issue. Moving on here. Let's see here. According, down here to the last paragraph, according to Dr. Marion Nestle, former chair of the Department of Nutrition, Food Studies, and Public Health at New York University, quote, there's a great deal of money at stake in what these guidelines say. Her work as an HHS and USDA expert, she said, I was told we could never say eat less meat because USDA would not allow it. And so here we go into the money issues that come up when you remove meat from the food guide, because now the meat industry, the dairy industry, they suffer. And we know that these people cannot let their partners suffer. So somehow they're going to find a way to put it all back together so their pockets can stay fat. Let's move on here. Let's see where we at. Controversy. Certain dietary choices have been linked to heart disease, such as an 8-ounce serving of hamburger daily, serving of hamburger daily were technically permitted under the pyramid. And someone already mentioned this earlier, a sister did. That stuff leads to issues, health issues. And it was permitted, it was allowed, and they knew it. They knew the issues with offering meat to the public in those serving amounts. And then not even classifying what type of meat, just any meat. So hot dogs, bologna, pig's feet, hog maws, all that stuff. Moving on. And yes, decalico, even the doctors benefit. But we all know why because when people have heart disease, most of them go looking for a prescription. So then that's where the doctors benefit from. Let me get back here to this article. So we talking about servings of hamburger permitted under the pyramid. The pyramid also lacked differentiation within the protein-rich group: meat, poultry, fish, dry beans, eggs, and nuts. So in April 1991, the USDA halted publication of its Eating Right Pyramid due to objections raised by meat and dairy lobbying groups concerning the guide's display of their products. Despite the USDA's explanations that the guide required further research and testing, it was not until 1 year later, after its content was supported by additional research, that the Eating Right Pyramid was officially released. This time, even the guide's graphic design was altered to appease industry concerns. This incident was only one of many in which the food industry attempted to alter federal dietary recommendations in their own economic self-interest. Self-interest. Some of the recommended quantities for the different types of food in the old pyramid have also come under criticism for lack of clarity. For instance, the pyramid recommends 2 or 3 servings from the protein-rich group, but this is intended to be a maximum. The pyramid recommends 2 or 4 fruit servings, but this is intended to be the minimum. Now, right here, they are clearly blaming the pyramid. The pyramid didn't do it. The people that put that crap in the pyramid did it. But did they reference anybody's names? No. They didn't even mention any people. They blaming the pyramid for the disruption to their industry and for the lack of clarity and so-called accuracy of the servings that people are supposed to have. Continuous disrespect. First, they put the crap in the pyramid. Now they're going to blame the pyramid. The pyramid did it. Pyramid did not do it. Yes, greed, not breed. Okay, you got breed. Pure greed due to the U.S. corruption is bankrupt. Facebook user said, wait, what? Okay, Facebook user, clarify. Gratitude. Let's move on here. Moving on. The fats group as a whole have been put at the tip of the pyramid under the direction to eat as little as possible, which is largely problematic. Under the guide, one would assume to avoid fats and fatty foods, which can lead to health problems. Exactly. For one, fat is essential in a person's general sustainability. Research suggests that unsaturated fats aid in weight loss, reduced heart disease risk, lower blood sugar, and even lower cholesterol. Also, they are very long sustaining and help keep blood sugar at a steady level. On top of that, these fats help brain function as well. Several books have claimed that food and agricultural associations exert undue political power on the USDA. Food industries, such as milk companies, have been accused of influencing the USDA into making the colored spots on the newly created food pyramid larger for their particular product. The milk section has been claimed to be the easiest to see out of the 6 sections of the pyramid, making individuals believe that more milk should be consumed on a daily basis compared to the others. Furthermore, the inclusion of milk as a group unto itself implies that is an essential part of a healthy diet. Despite the many people who are lactose intolerant or choose to abstain from dairy, and a number of cultures that have historically consumed little, if any, dairy products. Joel Furman says in his book, Eat to Live, that U.S. taxpayers must contribute $20 billion on price supports to artificially reduce the price of cattle feed to benefit the dairy, beef, and veal industries. and then pay the medical bills for an overweight population. He asked if the USDA is under the influence of the food industry because a food pyramid based on science would have vegetables at its foundation. These controversies promoted the creation of pyramids for specific audiences, particularly the Mediterranean pyramid in 1993 and some vegetable diet pyramids. So here I show you the other options for food guides. Oh, how is one supposed to know the max and minimum? Yeah, how is one supposed to know? When they introduce these what slide am I on? Okay. When they introduce and start out with an example that looks like this, and again, this example just says one or more servings. So was that 10 servings of vegetables a day? One or more servings of fruit and vegetables, citrus, fruit, tomatoes, one or more servings a day. So that means you can have 10 servings of that a day. So and then back here, over here on number 7, where it says butter and fortified margarine, it says some daily. So some is a tablespoon of margarine or butter, a pound of butter or margarine. When people say things like some, that leaves great room. It leaves a ton of room for interpretation. So yeah, how would one know what is the max and minimum? And it's all an individual type event. No one can tell you what is your max. No one can tell you what your minimum is. So it's been madness from the beginning. Well, their beginning. We was fine before they had their beginning. And for real, this stuff is upside down. And the last part, this last slide that I read goes back to show how these people are playing tug of war at a conference table, and they are concerned about whose product shows best on the pyramid, whose product sells more. This is all they're concerned about. They are not concerned about who is eating this stuff. They are not concerned about people at all. They're only concerned about what they about to go buy next, what vacation home, what car, what vacation. So when these things are brought up, these things from the master students are brought up about these drugs from these troglodytes, when things are brought up about the doctors benefiting from this, that's all it is. It's a business. It's a corporation like everything else here that we are witnessing. It's all about the Benjamins. Yes, sir, Wapul. We're going to move on here. I appreciate y'all's feedback. So, next. So we're going to calm it down. We're going to bring it down some levels here. And we're going to talk about this news article, why nutrients are lost in cut fruits and vegetables, because we've identified the issue. We've long time identified the issue is them. Now, what I like to do is when I take things from people, when I ask people to disassociate themselves with the system's antics, I do my best to give you something to put in its place. So, of course, some of us have went to eating more produce items. And I would like for those who don't know to know that when you buy your items cut up in the store, they have lost some of their nutrients. So if you can, buy the produce whole, take it home and cut it up and eat it. Do not buy the chopped up stuff at the store. And again, that's a study opportunity. Next, I want to talk to you about eating your produce that's in season And this article is from the seasonalfoodguide.org. And with this, it's interactive. So as you see here, California is the state, the location. You put in your location. Underneath, you put in the month that you're interested in the food and what type produce, if any, in particular. And this article goes on to tell why you should eat seasonally and what the seasonal food is. So seasonal food is produce that is purchased and consumed around the time that it is harvested. For example, purchasing fresh fiddlehead ferns in season in New York means buying them in the spring shortly after farmers have harvested them. Why it's important to eat foods that's in season. Seasonal food is fresher, tastier, and more nutritious than food consumed out of season. Even though we all like to eat strawberries year round, the best time to eat them is when they can be purchased directly from a local grower shortly after harvest. Seasonal fruits and vegetables produced on local farms are often fresher as they do not require long distances for transport. Also, unlike out of season produce, which is harvested early in order to be shipped and distributed to your local retail store, crops picked at their peak of ripeness are also better tasting and full of flavor. What's more, studies have shown that fruits and vegetables contain more nutrients when allowed to ripen naturally on their parent plant. I also want to share some information and another study opportunity on juicer versus blenders. Now, master students, before I get done with my little spiel, will have already read this screen. I'm going to say this anyway while you read the screen. And then I'm going to read the screen. The heat that is in the motor from these juicers and blenders affect the produce, the items that you put in the juicer and or blender. So that's a study opportunity for you as well. I'm going to read this juicer versus blender screen here for you. Juicers and blenders are appliances that are seen commonly in kitchens around the world. The two appliances confuse many homeowners as they do not know which of the two to purchase for their purpose. There are also people who want to know if there are significant differences between the two important appliances that warrant their separate purchase. Juicer and blender can perform some tasks that are similar. However, there are many differences between a juicer and a blender that will be highlighted in this article. So the blender is an appliance that is designed to chop everything that is thrown inside and make a smooth liquid. It creates tiny pieces of vegetables and fruits and finally converts these pieces into a smoothie. Blenders have rotating blades and move very quickly to chop the products, not leaving anything behind, even the seeds, skin, and the pith. There are hand blenders that need to be immersed in the container and operated to produce a blend of fruits or vegetables, though there are also blenders that contain a motor at the base and a jar at the top, which has the fast-moving blades inside. Blenders crush ice, make mixture, smoothies, make purees, and powder solids like herbs and spices and so on. Now, that is the end of my presentation, my PowerPoint. And again, what was it? Hold on here. Juicer. Okay, yeah, juicer. So study opportunity. Last part of the homework I'm going to give you all today. Look and see what the juicer is if you're not aware, and then compare the two and see what works best for which purpose in your kitchen. And let's see here. I'm going to address the audience, the master students right here if necessary. D. Calico says the food pyramid is the first pyramid scheme. You're right. Thanks for sharing that. All right. And the last comment I'm going to share here from the master student is from Shay Yu on YouTube. She says, indeed, separate ourselves of what has been adapted from cave dweller. This thing got me so messed up. I can't even read today, right? Okay, let me start over. Indeed, separate ourselves of what has been adapted from cave dwellers. All right. Well, I'd like to thank everyone once again for joining me here. I am your hostess, Joy Allen, and you can reach me at Facebook. You can also follow me on Twitter and or Instagram at MKDTNT. I appreciate being able to come to you once more as a master student and to continue to build with you each time. I send peace, wholeness, and wellness to all of you. I'll see you next time.